Hey guys, welcome to a moment of sanity, and in today's video I'm here to talk about sometimes the answer is feeling bad. Sometimes the answer is feeling bad. You know, most of the time in our society we run from our negative emotions. And in society in general, our negative emotions, you know, are seen as something bad. When I say negative emotions, I mean sadness, fear, or anger, or any other variation of those three. It's like our society want us to be happy all the time. Even the name negative emotions, in my opinion, they're wrong, because emotion in itself is just a reaction. They tell us something. And this is the first mistake that our society makes. Like in our society, we have this stoic part. You have people like Andrew Tate. That these people that wants to, I want to be the boss. I have power. I have money. I have woman. I have every single thing that every single human being in this earth will desire. So you must listen to me. Don't care about your emotions. Don't care about how you feel. Just do it. And this is bad, because in the end of the day, what he's not promoting self-knowledge. He's not promoting self-awareness. The more that you know yourself, the more stronger you will be, right? Because you will know how to deal with fear, and you also will know how to deal with the external world, right? And this kind of mentality, this modern stoicism mentality, is to suffocate. Their coping mechanism usually is suffocating their emotions. And if they could live without feeling anything, they would. But in the end of the day, they don't even know whether they're being deterred from what they are feeling or not. They don't even know that. Sometimes they're seeking something that from the surface looks like really meaningful, but deep down inside, sometimes they just want to be valued, they just want attention, they just want the other people's glory, fame, and etc. And these things are really fragile, even though the guy looks really strong, because they depend on the others. It's like you're conditioning your happiness on the others. Okay? So modern stoic, they have this problematic. They don't know about themselves, And modern stoic, I'm meaning these people that their mentality is just do it. Suffocate your emotions. Doesn't matter what you're feeling, you need to do it. And in the other side, we have the it's okay to be weak. Who never saw this video online, right? I know what the guy on the video mean. But we have this culture of victimism, that because I'm feeling bad, I shouldn't do anything. Because I'm feeling bad, oh, this happened to me, I'm this way because of my parents. I'm this way because of this. I'm this way because of that. And maybe sometimes it's true. You are like that because of your parents. And if we start to blame, your parents are that way because of their parents. And their parents are that way because of their parents. And we will go back in the chain, and we will arrive in something similar to Adam and Eve. You got what I mean? So the thing is, even though your parents had mistakes, even though your parents could be assholes, but you still have the responsibility over your shit, okay? Over your stuff. You have responsibility over the bad stuff that you have. The problem with this kind of mentality, sometimes they're really conscious about what is happening here, but they summarize the world just in here, like just in feeling bad, and they lose hope. They don't see hope because they're feeling bad all the time, and they cannot do anything, and they are a victim of society, and not just society, their parents, of religion, of tradition, of the patriarchy, and of anything. You got what I mean? This is a victimist vision, and this victimist vision by itself destroys you, because cuts off your hope. You don't have hope of improving. You don't have hope of getting a better life, and then because of that, because you don't have hope to get a better life, first you feel hopeless, but second of all, you start to become having some sort of bitterness towards reality and the way that it is structured, because it's hurting so much, and there's no good in the world, and you start to become skeptical, and etc. And this is a spectrum, of course. There are people that are more bitter, less bitter, and etc. Okay, so usually these are the two main ways that I can observe in our culture that we cope with our emotions. And because of that, when we talk with these guys, they tell us to shut up and just do what we need to do. And when we talk with this group of people, they will, no, it's okay that you're feeling this way. And they kind of want you to stay on that state of victimism, and etc. So when I say it's sometimes the answer is to feel bad, it's a balance between these two visions. It's a balance between the stoicism and it's a balance between this one that doesn't have hope and start to victimize themselves. Sometimes the answer is to feel bad because you need to have this inner dialogue with the bad parts of you, with the negative emotions, that they're not really negative. They are a reaction, and you need to start to go in and try to see where they come from. Sometimes we get angry with people, really angry, and then comes like anger, and they're like, I want to kill this guy. And what we do is suffocate the person. I'm not telling you to kill the person, but what I'm telling you, in this case of anger, after when you go back home, try to see what was in here. Because sometimes this anger has some value. Maybe wasn't 100% right, but it has some truth on it. It has some truth on it, and maybe you're just not paying attention to the truth that your heart is trying to tell you, But if you don't allow this anger to come out in a safe environment, what will happen is that you will suffocate the anger. You will be feeling the pain because negative emotions they come because we are usually in pain. If it's anger, it's because there is something between what you want and you can get it. So someone is smashing on the floor, you feel like, dang, he's doing that to me, and you can overcome the obstacle. If it's sadness, it's because you lost something good already, and maybe there's no chance to get it back. If it's fear, you are afraid to lose something good. You get what I mean? So this is just a simple description of our supposed negative emotions. So when we are feeling this anger tells us something about us and what is happening in the environment. But if we suffocate it, there is no dialogue, there's no self-knowledge improvement, there's no step forward, because you might be being conditioned by the patterns that you had in your childhood. Why? Look, if we think about human development, if you think about human beings, from the moment that you're conceived, so the moment that you're conceived, the moment that the sperm and the egg, they reach each other, okay? If we talk about human development, from that moment until you're more or less 10 years old, your world will be your parents. It will be your parents. It will be your parents. Kind of like you will think about yourself, but your parents will be, somehow your own worldview, more or less. Of course you have school, you have teacher here, teacher there, and etc. But mostly 95% of your world will be your parents. Why? Because you're totally dependent on them. Not just that. Before knowing how to speak, you would have stuff influencing you even in such a young age, and you weren't even able to speak what was influencing you. So sometimes you are in an environment that your parents fight a lot, and you can see in babies' reactions that how their parents behave in the world, they mirror their way. They try to mirror their parents. There is a really interesting video, but I don't know if I will be able to find the link. But it's a really interesting video that where they put a bunch of babies, with a snake going in between. And the baby usually will not react badly to the snake, but they start to react badly when the parent look scared of the snake. So what that means? It means that, coming back to our context, it means that when you were a baby, when you just born, when you were in your mom's womb, all the stress, all the emotions, all these things, were influencing you, and you weren't even able to speak. You weren't even able to name the problem. And even though you learn how to speak, you see how complex reality is. You wouldn't be able also, when you're 2 years old, 3 years old, 4, 5 years old, to name the problems properly. Actually, many of our problems, many of the human problems, is that we can name well what we are feeling. We can give a label to it. When we can give a label to our problems, usually we'll feel more free. Because when you label something, you determined the limitation of that thing. It's not blurry anymore. It's not blurry. It's from here to here. It's not like, oh, this make me feel pain. This is what, when you determine, is this, and etc. You're not fighting with something that you don't know. When you label it, you define the limit of the thing. So you can see how problematic that is for a child, even 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And you came from an environment, and this environment shaped you. It's not that you were unconscious, but the influence that your parents, that your family, that they had on you was huge. Okay? And from 10 to more or less 18, you're little by little losing this dependency and trying to individualize your ego. Trying to be yourself. Trying to discover who is me. You get what I mean? Who am I? And trying to find your own identity. The problem is that this is a gradual process, and not just gradual process. You will be still living in your parents' house, and even if you don't have your parents, not having them already has implications. So our personality, for a huge part, I would say, if we live until our 60s, let's say that someone that lives in their 60s, at least 1/3 of their lives had a huge influence by their parents. At least 1/3 of their lives had a huge influence by their parents. And because of that, many of the problems that we have now is because of the dynamic of our families. Okay, Daniel, but why you are saying this? What does it has to do with feeling bad? Exactly. If you don't feel bad, you can know yourself. Sometimes the answer is just to allow yourself to feel bad. Don't be afraid to feel fear. Don't be afraid of feeling anger. Don't be afraid of feeling sadness. It doesn't mean that you will give up. What it means is that you will discover deeper parts of your personality, and you will start to discover what are your deeper motivations and stuff. And not just that, you will start to see the correlation between past and now. And by knowing our past, by knowing who we are, by knowing what were the influences that we had, we don't get hopeless like these guys here. Oh no, my dad did this. Oh my God. No. We get in control. We get in control. We start to own ourselves by allowing ourselves to feel bad. Sometimes the answer is to feel bad so you can get deeper knowledge about yourself. Not just that. Just by allowing your emotions to come out, you already will feel relief. Contemplate them. Let them come out. Contemplate your anger. Experience what anger is. No one is telling you to go there and kill the guy that made you angry. No one is telling you that. No one is telling you to be moved by anger. But I'm telling you to dialogue with that part of you. You know, talking with your anger, being, integrating that part, that anger on you instead of fighting, punching it. And at the same time, not losing hope. Because the more that you know yourself, the more that you know why you're feeling bad, the more that you get in control. Not just control, the more authentic you are. The more authentic you are, the more yourself you will be. Okay? The more yourself you will be. Like, I never read The Art of War, but there's this really famous quote that he says that a general, governor, someone that is guiding a war, he can't, if he knows himself well and he knows his opponent, he cannot lose. And we often forget about the knowing ourselves more part. We often forget about that. So sometimes feeling bad is the answer. And not just sometimes. It's more often than you think. Okay? More often than you think. Your negative emotions, they are part of you and they signalize something inside you. See you guys, and remember to subscribe, hit the like button. Okay? Have a sane week.